Alright, this is VOB versus package, the two major story types, and it's just a brief introduction. I'm going to post this one up first because it's a lot quicker to get through. These terms come from local TV news. You probably need to know them if you're going to be an intern, if you're going to work at a TV station at any time, or if you're going to do any work in collaboration with TV stations. It helps to know the types of news story that they have. These are two basic types. Voiceover with a bite is VOB. Again, that's voiceover with a bite. Sometimes it's called a VOSOT, voiceover sound on tape. So VOSOT or VOB. And VOSOT is just VO/SOT. And the other one is a package, which the whole semester is sort of built around, but just to reiterate, it's prepackaged news information. So, VOB, usually you're going to have about 25 to 30 seconds of VO. In the script, you're going to write about 30 seconds, 25-30 seconds worth of copy, and then you're going to want to cut about 35 or 40 seconds worth of video. And you're going to attach a bite. Usually the bite goes at the end, and it's 10 to 15 seconds long. And you can have nat sound off the top of the VO if you want. After the bite, you can go to the anchor, or sometimes they'll just attach more VO and have the anchor read the tag with more video showing. Sometimes that's a good way to mix it up, so you don't have the anchor's boring face on camera all the time. You can show some more of the video that didn't fit into the VO, or that somehow matches up with what you're saying in the tag better than anything else could.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, good job.
Another housing redevelopment opens in downtown Davenport. City leaders gathered for the grand opening of the Kirker Lofts this afternoon. The once empty warehouse at 5th and Iowa is now an 18-unit building, helping with the demand for more residential space.
Once you get them coming, they'll keep coming. And now there are waiting lists of people wanting apartments downtown Davenport. It means that we're continuing to grow.
The Alexander Company renovated the building, a $3.4 million investment. With the addition of these 18 units, the mayor says the downtown has seen the development of nearly 900 residential units.
Okay, so the news anchor, Sharon Derek, Sharon read that story. They obviously had nat sound off the top. I didn't even show you the anchor intro, and I apologize for that, but it was actually because they just came right out of another story. So you couldn't see the anchor on cam, but there was an anchor intro. It was really brief, and it was just in the transition of the video. And so I just cut it. Yeah, see, what it was the anchor intro was read.
1, 2.
No, there was no anchor intro because they came straight out of a different VO. So sometimes they'll do that. I'm not teaching you to do that because I like you to have some some concept of an introduction script, and then that the next line sort of continues the lead. So the lead is sort of spread out instead of in print news where the lead is all put in one sentence on top, and then there's maybe a nut graph underneath. In this case, it's more of an intro, and then more of a lead to the story that comes afterwards that gets more specific. This is the best one I could find online in a hurry, and basically it's just some VO and then a soundbite with VO continuing. You can cut it that way, but all you need to really do for me is have an anchor intro written in the script, no video. Obviously, you don't say the voiceover, you just cut the VO video, and then you can go ahead and tack on a soundbite at the end of your video. And I'm going to show that in class on Wednesday, but or at some point this week I'll show you how to cut these. I might, or this week or next week, I haven't decided which, because all I want you to worry about for this week is interviewing, and we'll get to the VOB in class I think next week. At any rate, watch it again.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, good job.
Another housing redevelopment opens in downtown Davenport. City leaders.
Okay, so you had a little bit of a nat sound break off the top of the VO. You had the who, what, where, when, basically downtown Davenport. Another loft housing complex is being built. It's being actually refurbished out of this old building. And you got the shots to tell the story.
Gathered for the grand opening of the Kirker Lofts this afternoon. The once empty warehouse at 5th and Iowa is now an 18-unit building, helping with the demand for more residential space.
Once you get them coming, they'll keep coming. And now there are waiting lists of people wanting apartments downtown Davenport. It means that we're continuing to grow.
The Alexander Company renovated the building.
So I guess what's remarkable about this is that it's not that remarkable. I know this is not the world's greatest news story. I know that the downtown loft development thing happened about 10 years ago in a lot of other cities, but in Davenport, I'm sure it's been happening. It's been an ongoing process, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're a little bit behind in this type of trend. I remember when I was covering city council there for a while, they were taking sort of a long time trying to figure out what to do with urban renewal, urban development, and they were taking a bunch of trips and hiring a bunch of consultants, spending a lot of money, and ultimately they just ended up doing, it seems like, what everybody else is doing, which is just refurb the buildings that you already have, and I imagine they're not doing a whole lot to the streets. But anyway, downtown redevelopment. The mayor's soundbite was actually what I call a Frankenstein bite, where they smash two different pieces of a bite together. I don't like you doing that. I'm going to ask you generally not to do that, but people get away with it sometimes. They just had kind of a fade, or a little brief dissolve transition in there. So the bite was decent. It got the point across, but all I really wanted to show you was that this is what one looks like on a real TV station with an anchor reading. And so obviously I teach you these forms in their most basic structure, most basic format, and then TV stations play with them a little bit to make things flow more seamlessly. They'll go from video to video, and sometimes they'll do things like smash bites together, but I could teach you how to do that if you want to know how. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of keeping it simple while we're just starting out. So that's a VO bite example, and then VO continue after the bite. So there's the mayor Gluba.
Continuing to grow.
The Alexander Company renovated the building.
And the VO continues. All right. Voiceover bite deconstructed. Okay. I want you to answer the following questions really briefly. What is the gnat sound off the top? Who is the bite from? I just said it. What weird thing did they do to the bite? And what comes after the bite? Is it the anchor on camera tag, or is it VO continues? Just tweet me those things. I just covered it all, but hopefully it's give you a chance. This is going to give you a chance to review really briefly. Now we're going to talk about the pack really briefly. I'm going to talk about this all semester long. I'm going to say it a million times if I haven't already said it a couple of times. But the whole purpose of the video news package is to make the words match the pictures and to do this, as good a job as possible in the time allotted, and to avoid any errors, basically. Instead of having an anchor read and try to match the video and try to catch it and trying to anticipate when the gnat sound breaks are, you can build them all in there. It makes for a much more dynamic news story if you can have several different if you can have several different natural sound breaks in there. If you can pick out a couple of bites, you can tell a more complete story than just a simple VO bite. And you can put everything together in the exact order you want it to. You can script the whole thing out, and you can make it look really nice and make it look really good. Once you've seen a few VOs go awry, or seen bites not hit, or just seen tapes crash or lock up, you realize why we do pre-packaged news stories whenever possible, especially with reporters' local news stories. So it's it's a great format for telling stories in that you write the script and then you cut the video to match the script, so you know that the video matches.
Just hours before Irene's expected arrival, you can hear crickets. Almost everyone has heeded the warnings to leave. Almost.
Everybody says I'm crazy.
Gary Lerner has stood up to more than a handful of hurricanes.
Gloria, Hugo, Agnes, maybe 8 or 9. I've lost hot water heaters a couple times. Obviously things float away. That trash can dumpster, if you don't tie that down, that'll be 2 blocks down.
As we talk to Gary, the winds pick up speed. If the winds become 50 miles per hour for 10 minutes or longer, emergency response will stop. Gary will be on his own.
Am I afraid of dying in it? No, you're here, I'm here. It'll pass. We'll survive it.
He's already boarded up his windows.
When it hits, it'll come from that direction. It'll be, the brunt of it will be from the northeast.
And from here.
You know what I'm really doing it for? Earplugs. Because my wife has been screaming at me for a day and a half. You should have done this last week. I said, yeah.
Yeah, I was just screaming for help. Can you see why?
So they are taking their trailer and lawnmower to higher ground, ready to face Irene.
I chose this place to live.
Okay, does that remind you of anybody in the New Orleans area in recent weeks or months or years? And I don't mean any offense to people who stayed for Katrina. I don't think they had any anticipation that the levees were going to break, although it did look like a pretty bad hurricane. But this is a story that sort of judges the guy a little bit. I mean, it's telling the story in his own words, being true to what he's doing. He's staying during a hurricane. But you can tell there's a little bit of questioning about whether or not what he's doing is smart, and it's okay to sort of have skepticism, but not extend it all the way to editorializing or to becoming completely subjective. In this case, on the reporter's part. In this case, they just let the wife and husband kind of argue about whether the precautions necessary were taken, but it seemed like they were staying no matter what. They stay through just about every hurricane. This is on the East Coast, kind of mid-Atlantic. People do that, so obviously you could do a story like this in New Orleans, hopefully not anytime the rest of this year, but maybe in 2013 you'll have an opportunity to do a story like this. I asked some of you to shoot video of your own hurricane evacuation experiences, or if you decide to stay and shelter in, what you saw. And so there's a little bit of that, but I guess obviously most of you didn't have a chance to get a hold of a camera and shoot everything that was happening around you. But I wanted to point out a few things. Besides commenting on the quality of the news story, on the topic of the news story, I wanted to talk about the quality of it. What's the net sound open?
Just hours before Irene's expected arrival.
It's wind with a little bit of rain, but you're supposed to hear the wind and the net sound open, and then they show crickets, which is a really eerie thing that sort of all the other wildlife kind of dies down and quiets down, and the only thing left to hear are crickets who are kind of don't have anywhere else to go. And I think you might have noticed that if you stuck around for Isaac.
You can hear crickets. Almost everyone has heeded the warnings to leave. Almost.
Everybody says that.
So there's some great shots because it shows empty streets in a couple different times. It shows flashing lights. Almost everyone has decided to leave. You can see that this place is pretty vacant. The rains are coming. The hurricane's on its way. It's probably, if the first few bands of rain are coming, you're already getting very close.
Almost everyone has heeded the warnings to leave. Almost.
Everybody says I'm crazy.
Okay, this is a central compelling character. I'm going to teach you all these terms again. I'm going to put them on paper and make sure, or at least put them in a lecture and give them to you. But for all the things that we do in this class, this is one of the most important topics to learn. The most important ideas to grasp is, if every video shot needs a hero, every story needs a hero as well. Needs a central compelling character. At least most of them do. I wouldn't say you're going to get one for every last story you do, but if you can find one, it makes it a lot easier for people to relate to what's going on. And this guy, he's newsworthy in that he's doing something out of the ordinary. On the other hand, there are people like him who he is able to represent. So this is our guy. This is our central compelling character. This is the person who's going to take us through the story, and the story is going to be about sheltering in for a hurricane.
Gary Lerner has stood up to more than a handful of hurricanes.
Gloria, Hugo, Agnes, maybe 8 or 9. I've lost.
That shot's a little bit of foreground framing. You got the flowers kind of blowing in the wind, and I believe it's probably his house or some part of his neighborhood in the background. You can see they interviewed him kind of at different times. They had the mic on, let him walk around, did a little mic walk and talk. They did a little wireless soundbite, what I'm going to try to term for this class action bites. And then they had some just seated setup bites with a setup shot. They didn't put a light on him. They're just relying on the sort of overcast sky to light him, so it kind of gives you that kind of rainy gray feel. That's fine by me. That's natural.
8 or 9. I've lost hot water heaters a couple times. Obviously things float away. That trash can dumpster, if you don't tie that down, that'll be 2 blocks down.
As we talk to Gary, the winds pick up.
So you're not always going to be driving around in a weather truck with its own built-in, what's that called? I can't remember what the term is for the thing that measures the wind speed. Is it aerometer? I'm going to have to Google it. It's going to drive me crazy. Bear with me for 2 seconds, or go ahead and get a soda, because I'm going to actually Google it. I cannot believe I can't remember the term. Oh, anemometer. All right, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, whatever. Anemometer. Fine, we'll go with that. Anemometer. All right, so you're always going to have some digital anemometer on your news truck. That's fine.
Gary.
When this is all said and done, I might ask you other ways that they show the wind speed without without showing the anemometer on their weather truck that they're driving around in. I don't think I have to tell you what they are. There's a lot of shots of different things indicating how windy it is. Don't note the tide as an indication of the wind. Yeah, it's related to the hurricane, but that's more of a relation to the storm surge and the water being pushed in. Yes, it's brought in by the storm. It's related to the wind, but there are a lot of other shots that document the wind blowing. There's probably the trap. There's the soda bottle. The tree is in there somewhere. There are other ways of showing it. There you go. Besides showing your life truck.
Stop. Gary will be on his own.
Am I afraid of dying in it? No. You're here. I'm here. It'll pass.
That's a good point there, Gare. A lot of times TV news reporters are the last people to leave town during a disaster.
We'll survive it.
He's already boarded up his windows.
When it hits, it'll come from that direction. It'll be, the brunt of it will be from the northeast.
And from here.
You know what I'm really doing it for? Earplugs. Because my wife has been screaming at me for a day and a half. You shut up!
Okay, so that's all funny and stuff, but you can see the point of packaging a news story is to bring people to the scene, show them, and let them hear exactly what it sounded like. Show them what it looked like, let them hear what it sounded like, and do it with a lot of flair, keep people interested. It's somewhat entertaining. We're going for interesting, right? Not for sensationalized, but the pacing of this is pretty fast. Maybe not as fast as some of the other pieces that we've watched in this class, but it's still pretty quick. And got a lot of little bites and a lot of emotion from the guy. And it's just a pretty well done piece about something that, you could do just about every time there's a big storm, every time there's a hurricane, which, is going to come once or twice a year most years.
Done this last week? I said, yeah.
Yeah, I was just screaming for help. Can you see why?
So they are taking their trailer and lawnmower to higher ground, ready to face Irene.
I chose this place to live.
I know one of you is going to ask me, is it okay to have rain on the lens? And the answer is usually no, especially not when you're interviewing people. But if it gets on there for a shot like this, you can still see what's going on. And I guess they felt that this was just as good of a way of demonstrating what was going on as anything else. You can see the blue corners over here, the triangles. I think that's probably rain gear or a lens cover that they had to try to keep the rain off. It just didn't do that good of a job. And so, yeah, the closing shot here is the guy taking his lawnmower away to higher ground so it doesn't blow away or float away, which I guess is interesting. Like I said, not the world's greatest package, but it explains why we prepackage things, because if you're going to put all those tight little sound bites, those little small sound bites in there, there's no way you can have an anchor read it and try to hit bite after bite and do the VOs in between. And you get a lot more chance to use nat sound, a lot more chance to use nat sound bites, and you make the words match the pictures. So these are reminders about pacing. Like I said, I'm going to present basic breakdowns, things I look for in a video news package, things that are going to make it, airable or not. And I'm thinking that I'm going to come up with a 100-point scale, and you have to get a 90 or better on that scale for it to go to air. Obviously, in every story, there are little things that, even in stories that air on network or local, television news, that are not perfect. Raindrops on the camera lens is one thing. Shaky shot will get into air here and there from time to time. Definitely not amateurish, always shaky video though. So there are some things that you can take off for without completely killing the package. But definitely you can't have video that's too dark or sound that can't be heard. But what I'm saying is I'm going to build you different checklists of things to look for. Some of them are like complete, like if you do this at all, it's an automatic fail. Other ones are just ones to look out for, possible ways to get back bonus points. And I do have a structure that I'm looking for. This is it. Start with your nat sound, start with your best video, Is your best video always going to have nat sound? Yes, because you're going to record nat sound with everything. So your first shot should always be your best video, whether it's a VO, or VO package. Start with your best video, have a little nat sound open to wake people up, catch their attention, make them look at the TV screen, make them look at their computer screen, whatever they've got, and pay attention. Got to write clearly and concisely. This is another story where the reporter's tracks are very short and most of the story is told through the bites. You should take that as a hint of what I'm looking for. It starts with finding a good story where that's even possible, but then you have to do the story justice by conducting good interviews, which is what we're also talking about the rest of this week. So have some great sound bites. Use nat sound and nat bite or action bites as breaks. Always only professional quality video.